vividly and commends it to the House. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member Jan Logie. Tēnā koe, Ms Logie.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to take a brief call this morning in support of the Geneva Convention Third Protocol Red Crystal Emblem Amendment Bill. Again, obviously the Green Party is joining, I think, every other party in the House today in support of this bill. And a lot of the history has already been covered by my colleagues, and this speech and this topic almost feels as if it's just actually us catching up and signing off the paperwork to pass something that's already happened. So there doesn't feel to me to be a huge amount of need to go into a lot of detail. I would briefly go over what other people have said in terms of the history and the importance of this, though, because this bill is a catching up with what happened in 2005 when the Red Cross and the Red Crescent were joined by another symbol, because in recognition that Israel and Eritrea were not able to use the symbols available to them to cover and protect humanitarian interventions in their country. And in fact, Israel has been quite a complicated situation, really, and because they weren't able to join the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Association because of their refusal to use the symbols available, America was refusing to pay their fees into the international organisation, and this had a real impact in terms of the ability of the association to fund its work. So this has making this change and each national country signing off on it has actually had a financial positive impact for the association globally, which I'm pleased to be able to support. I would like to note, though, that even after the passing of this bill and MDA, which is in effect the organisation that's come into the International Red Cross and Red Crescent organisation, there has been ongoing debate about their use and non-use of this symbol that has been very disappointing. In 2011, the International Conference on the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement noted with regret that the 2005 agreement had not been fully implemented, and they decided to continue a monitoring process in terms of MDA's use or non-use of the symbol and agreements at that time of involvement in the Gaza and the West Bank. And unfortunately, in January 2012, so that's this year, the organisation confirmed that MDA had in fact agreed to stop all services within the West Bank, and rescue efforts would be officially administered by regional councils instead, and would not be using the red Magdalene David symbol as they'd continued to do. So in effect, while we've made this international agreement to enable Israel to come into the family, to hold this neutrality that is so critically important, unfortunately, they haven't been following through on that. So my hope is that as more countries in the world put these protocols and acknowledgement of the Red Crystal into our national laws, there will become more of a sense of consensus around the importance of neutrality in these symbols. And I think the Honourable Phil Goff's contribution of recognising, as Marion Street also did, the history of the Red Cross not being a religious symbol, that in fact it came from the inverse of the Swiss flag and a symbol of neutrality, is important but has clearly been lost. The cross is clearly seen globally as a symbol that reinforces a message of Christianity, and therefore alongside the Red Crescent, which is seen as a symbol representing Islam, has in effect made the movement for peace and neutrality politicised and has put it into a religious construct, which is really unfortunate. So it would be wonderful to see more use of the Red Crescent, and I hope that by us passing this law today, we will in some way contribute to the strengthening of neutrality. I'd also just like to note, I'd be remiss, it's my job as the women's spokesperson, if I didn't mention that this bill also updates the language in the original Act from gender-specific language to gender-neutral language. And, it's important to mark that and note our progress as a country towards more full inclusion, and that for me is also a positive move in terms of sense of a world where everyone's included and we're not being ruled by old paradigms of power. So again, the Greens are very happy to be supporting this bill.
Thank you. I call